New York City never truly slept. Even at 2 o'clock in the morning, the streets of Manhattan glowed with neon lights, yellow taxis raced through crowded avenues, and thousands of windows shined high above the city. But beneath all that light, hidden far below the streets, there was a darkness that had remained untouched for decades. Detective Ethan Ross had spent 15 years working for the NYPD. He had investigated murders, kidnappings, robberies, and organized crime. He thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. On a cold October night, Ethan was sitting alone in his apartment reviewing paperwork when his phone suddenly rang. The number was unknown. He hesitated before answering. Detective Ross speaking. For a moment, there was only static. Then a frightened female voice whispered, "Please help me." The voice trembled. "They're coming. Please don't let them find me." Before Ethan could respond, the call disconnected. He immediately tried calling back. No answer. He ran a trace on the phone's signal. What he discovered made no sense. The call had originated from an abandoned subway tunnel beneath Manhattan, a tunnel that had been officially sealed and abandoned nearly 40 years ago. The next morning, Ethan met his partner, Detective Lisa Harper. Together, they examined old city records. According to official documents, the tunnel had been closed in 1986 due to structural damage. Nobody had entered it since, at least officially. Lisa looked at the map and frowned. If this is accurate, nobody should even be able to access this place. Ethan pointed at the signal location, and yet someone called me from there. Neither of them had an explanation. That evening, they located an old maintenance entrance hidden behind a fenced construction site. The rusted steel door was partially open. Cold air drifted out from the darkness. Lisa turned on her flashlight. "You ready?" Ethan nodded. They stepped inside. The tunnel felt like entering another world. The sounds of New York disappeared behind them. The air smelled damp and stale. Water dripped from cracked concrete ceilings. Their footsteps echoed endlessly through the darkness. After 20 minutes of walking, Lisa suddenly stopped. "What is that?" Her flashlight illuminated something lying on the ground. A small girl's shoe, covered in dust and stained with dried blood. Ethan's stomach tightened. The phone call suddenly felt much more real. They continued deeper underground. The tunnel eventually opened into a massive hidden chamber. Both detectives froze. Rows of old computers filled the room. Metal filing cabinets lined the walls. Dust-covered desks sat untouched for decades. Yet something felt wrong. This place wasn't abandoned. Someone had been here recently. Then Ethan noticed the photographs. Hundreds of them, covering every wall. Men, women, children, all missing persons. Some had vanished 5 years ago. Others 20 years ago. A few had disappeared over 40 years earlier. Lisa stared in disbelief. What kind of place is this? Before Ethan could answer, a heavy metal door slammed shut behind them. Bang! The sound echoed through the chamber. They spun around. Nobody was there. Suddenly, one of the computer monitors flickered to life. The screen glowed in the darkness. An elderly man appeared. His silver hair was neatly combed. His face was calm. Too calm. And then he smiled. A smile that sent chills down Ethan's spine. "Welcome, Detective Ross." Ethan stepped forward. "Who are you?" The old man leaned closer to the camera. "I've been waiting for you." The screen suddenly went black. Over the next several days, Ethan and Lisa launched a full investigation. Every lead pointed toward something called Project Echo. The strange thing was that Project Echo didn't officially exist. There were no government records, no public documents, no archived reports, nothing. It was as if someone had erased it from history. Eventually, they tracked down a retired engineer named Samuel Briggs. The moment Ethan mentioned Project Echo, the old man's face turned pale. "You need to stop asking questions." Ethan leaned forward. "What was Project Echo?" Samuel hesitated, then finally spoke. "It was never supposed to happen." "What was it?" The engineer lowered his voice. "They were experimenting with memory." Ethan exchanged a glance with Lisa. Samuel continued, "They believed they could erase memories, replace memories, control memories." The room became silent. They used volunteers at first, then prisoners, then anyone they could make disappear. Lisa looked horrified. "What happened?" Samuel closed his eyes. "The experiments failed." "How?" "People lost their identities." He swallowed hard. "Some forgot their families, some forgot their own names, and some disappeared forever." As the investigation progressed, strange things began happening. Ethan would wake up in the middle of the night and find messages written on his apartment wall. "Stop digging." By morning, the messages would be gone. One evening, he found an old photograph inside his car. The photograph showed him standing beside a subway entrance. The problem was that the image had been taken years before he claimed to have ever visited the location. Then the anonymous phone calls began. Every night, always the same voice. "You are getting too close." One morning, Lisa failed to arrive at work. Her phone was disconnected. Her apartment was empty. No signs of struggle. No witnesses. No evidence. Nothing except a single note left on her desk. "Come alone." Below the message was an address. The address led Ethan to an abandoned psychiatric hospital outside New York City. The building stood alone in the woods. Broken windows stared like empty eyes. The front doors creaked open as he entered. Dust covered every surface. The hallways stretched endlessly into darkness. Then he heard a voice. A scream. Lisa. He followed the sound. Room after room. Floor after floor. Finally, he entered a large treatment chamber. A television flickered in the center. Lisa appeared on the screen. She was tied to a chair. Ethan. Her voice shook. It's a trap. The screen went black. A slow clap echoed through the room. Ethan turned. The elderly man stepped from the shadows. The same man from the monitor. The mastermind. You've done well, detective. Ethan drew his weapon. Where is Lisa? The old man smiled. Safe. Who are you? The man ignored the question. Instead, he said something far worse. Project Echo never ended. Ethan's blood ran cold. What? It's still active? The old man tossed a thick file onto the floor. Read it. Ethan opened the folder. The first page contained his photograph. His own face. The words beneath it nearly stopped his heart. Subject 17. Project Echo test participant. He stared at the page. No? The old man nodded. Yes. Ethan flipped through the documents. Medical reports. Psychological evaluations. Memory modification records. All bearing his name. His hands began shaking. The old man stepped closer. Your memories aren't real, Ethan. Everything he believed suddenly felt uncertain. His childhood, his family, his past. Were any of them real? Or had they been created? Inserted into his mind? Manufactured by Project Echo? The room seemed to spin around him. Then alarms suddenly erupted throughout the building. Red emergency lights flashed. A countdown appeared on nearby monitors. Self-destruct sequence initiated. The old man smiled. You were never supposed to find the truth. Explosions rocked the hospital. Fire erupted down the hallways. Smoke filled the building. Ethan grabbed Lisa and fought through collapsing corridors. Behind them, the hospital began to crumble. By the time they escaped outside, flames consumed the entire structure. The old man was gone. Vanished. Without a trace. 3 months later, the case was officially closed. Government agencies seized all evidence. Project Echo was declared a conspiracy theory. Every record disappeared. Every witness vanished. Life slowly returned to normal. At least on the surface. One rainy evening, Ethan returned home. A single envelope waited inside his mailbox. No return address. He opened it. Inside was an old photograph. The image showed him standing deep inside the abandoned subway tunnel. The date printed on the corner read, October 1984, 2 years before the tunnel officially closed. 2 years before Ethan claimed he had ever been there. His heart pounded. He turned the photograph over. A message was written on the back, in black ink. You still don't remember everything? At that exact moment, his phone began ringing. Unknown number. Ethan answered slowly. A familiar voice whispered, Welcome back, Subject 17. The line went dead. Ethan stared into the darkness outside his apartment window. Somewhere beneath Manhattan, the truth was still waiting. And the nightmare was far from over. The end. Or is it?